Hello and welcome to Marvel Vision, a Marvel Studios TV show podcast brought to you by Cinema Sangha. My name is Devin Faraci. I am one of the hosts of the program. Joining me as he traditionally does.
My name is Derek Faraci, and my self-published novels aren't going to publish themselves. How are you, Devin?
I am okay. We've had the fires this week here in Los Angeles.
Yes.
It's been a lot.
Yeah.
I'm quite safe. Although the air quality for a couple of days was very bad, and it was raining ash in my neighborhood. It was snowing ash, really. I mean, you walk outside, it looks like snow.
That's no good.
It's crazy. My best friend, she lives right below Altadena, and the fire stopped a block and a half from her house.
Oh,
yeah.
Isn't
that crazy?
Close.
Yeah, that's way too close. Yeah. That is very close. And a lot of her daughter's friends lost their houses.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's very terrible. But I saw what I've seen is a lot of people doing fire stolen valor. Okay. And people who are not actually in the fire zones saying stuff about it. Somebody tweeted and said, I see a lot of you being very loose using the word evacuated when you left an area that's not an evacuation zone. What you did is called leaving. And I was like, it's fair. Like, leaving is fair. Like, the air quality is very, very bad.
Sure.
But you didn't evacuate. I think evacuate's a very specific term that has a sense of urgency behind it. That getting out of town because the air quality is bad or because the whole situation is up in the air. It's not the same thing as evacuating.
No,
like my friend, she evacuated.
Yes.
Like, they had to pack their shit and run out the door.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different. So, but your stomach again.
Yep.
Derek's stomach is making a lot of noise this week. We were talking before recording, and I swear to God, I've never heard anything make that much noise.
I don't know what's going on.
Have you not eaten?
No, I literally ate like an hour ago.
What did you eat?
I had some what do you call them? Some vegetarian chicken strips, whatever. Like, they're not chicken.
Is that what's happening? Is that it's boiling inside your stomach right now?
I don't think so.
You're gonna have to take a big crap right in the middle of the show. That's usually my thing. I have to take a big crap right in the middle of the show.
Yeah, and then I had that with some corn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
No chili today?
No.
Well, if you hear weird noises, it's because Derek's stomach is the third member of this. There it goes again.
I don't know what to tell you.
Shut that tummy up.
It's like, I want chocolate.
It's so loud to get picked up by your mic. That's amazing.
My mic barely picks up my voice.
I know. It's incredible that your fucking mic.
I'm just going to let my stomach talk from now on. There we go.
Oh, wow. This is the good stuff, folks. This is why you subscribe to the Patreon, to get Derek's growling stomach. How's life out there where there's no fires?
It's cold. It's snowy, but otherwise it's fine.
Yeah.
No complaints.
You do anything good this week?
What did I do this week? I watched Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, and then Hawkeye.
Did you watch those so that you could roll into Hawkeye? Is that the premise there?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Hawkeye continues to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And Endgame continues to be kind of rough.
I watched Gladiator 2.
How was it?
It sucks. It sucks so much. I could not believe how much it sucked. I am pretty easygoing on the Ridley Scott. I know he can be really hit or miss. I get it. Like, he really rushes through these movies sometimes. But this is so bad. I could not believe how there is a major plot point in this movie where Connie Nielsen's character, who was the love interest in the first Gladiator, she recognizes that Paul Mescal is Russell Crowe's son because of the way he picks up dirt.
Sure.
Just like Russell Crowe did in the first movie. Yeah, and so she sees him picking up dirt, and she has this moment. Maybe that's why he has tummy, because you're putting all this Coca-Cola fizz.
He wants to shut the hell up.
Oh, no. Paul Mescal, it's been a long time since I've seen somebody this badly miscast. It is just the worst possible casting. It isn't that he's bad per se. He's just the wrong guy.
Yeah.
And people keep saying you have a fury in you, a rage, and then you look at him and he looks like a guy who's like sitting in a pub, like thinking about his life. Like
Sure.
there's no rage. There's like a lot of sadness and distance, but there's
Yeah.
no rage. However, Denzel Washington is amazing.
Okay.
Almost worth it just for Denzel. And Denzel's the only guy who gets it. Like he's playing the movie in such a heightened fashion that nobody else is, and everybody else is taking it really seriously.
Yeah.
But he's having the time of his fucking life, and he's great. Every scene with him is great. He's kind of anachronistic, but not quite. But like the way that he delivers lines is a
He
great
reads a
line.
newspaper in the movie, from what I understand, which newspapers did not exist.
There's a line in the movie where they're like, "How are we going to deal with this?" And then Denzel says, "Well, we will take her head and we will give it to the people of Rome, and that, my friend, is politics." And I'm like, "Fucking yeah, give me the politics every time." But the thing is that Denzel knows how to do period. He did that Macbeth.
Yeah.
He really knows how to do it. He's choosing not to do period here.
Well, I mean, let's broaden this out a bit. Denzel knows how to do everything.
Well, yes, that's true.
You know,
But I'm just
if
saying,
he's being broad, it's because he was like, "I'm going to go broad."
no, he definitely made it's a choice.
Like,
But that's the thing. I need to clarify that because in case somebody's like, well, maybe Denzel can't do period well. He's too modern. That isn't the case at all. He can 100% do it. It's just that here he recognizes that going modern is the better choice for this character and
Yeah.
probably the better choice for this movie in general. More people should have gone modern with it because it all just becomes really ludicrous. But I can't. It's so bad. It is awful. And it's the kind of movie they have like a naval battle in the Coliseum with sharks, and it's not even good.
That's a bummer.
That's the thing. And also the way that the movie's edited together, every time somebody falls into the water and gets eaten by a shark, it's like they cut away to it. So it looks like they're cutting away to like B-roll or like nature footage. That's what, you know how they do that in cheap movies? Like,
Yeah.
That's what it looks like because there's no continuity between the guys falling in the water and the sharks eating them. Like we don't follow them into the water; they fall in, then we cut, and like there's no boat in the shot underwater, and it just looks like they just 100% spliced in other footage. It's incredible.
That's great.
Yeah, it's
a,
real fucking bad.
It's a Ford BB movie.
Yes, it is. So I don't recommend it if you didn't already watch it. I can't.
The trailers did nothing for me. I think we've spoken about this before. I am not a Ridley Scott guy at the end of the day. I think he's made some good movies, but overall he just does not do it for me. And this one did not seem like it was going to do it for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it on VOD because I knew I just wasn't going to waste my time because it looked so bad. Scott, it's interesting because I like some of his movies a lot, and he can do really interesting things, but he's also kind of really fast paced and lazy sometimes. And this is one of those movies where you're like, maybe if you put a little more thought into this actually would have worked out. But this is like, I hate when people say
Instead,
this.
he's like, I've got 3 movies to make this week.
Exactly. I hate to say this because I don't like people say this very much, but I think it really is true for this film, which is that this movie has no reason to exist. Like within itself, it does not have a compelling story to tell.
Yeah.
And that's like a big problem. Like you're watching, you're like, well, why am I even watching this? Like, what's the point of this? It's not that interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, that's Gladiator 2. Do not recommend.
A trailer today for a movie. I want to say it's called The Workman. Or something like that.
Yeah.
It comes out later this month, and it's written by Chuck Dixon and Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah. Chuck Dixon's become a hardcore right-wing guy.
I think he always was.
He always was, but like the definition of hardcore right-wing has really shifted right. Like when he was doing Punisher, he was a right-wing guy, but like probably wasn't one of the right-wing guys who thought that AIDS patients should be in camps.
Sure.
And now most right-wing guys are in that level. And he now does comics for the Rippaverse, which is a Comicsgate publisher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He does comics for them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like people who think that there's too many like black people and women in comics and the women should be hot only.
Yeah.
So that's what he's been doing a lot of lately. They make a ton of money though. So, it's sad.
Yeah.
Hey, everything they publish, they crowdfund.
Yeah.
So it's just like they're making money hand over fist.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this movie is based on one of those books, but it's what's his face directed it? The guy who directed Suicide Squad, not James Gunn, the other guy.
David Ayer.
David Ayer directed it, and Jeff Chelios stars in it.
Jason Statham.
Jason Statham.
It's a reunion of the Beekeeper people.
Yes.
I'm sure it's just a script that he worked on. It's probably a script that's been sitting around, is my guess.
I mean, if Stallone wrote it, it must have been at a point where like Stallone was younger and was like, "I'm going to be in this."
Yeah, possibly.
I was too old, and they're like, we'll get Jason Statham.
Well, you know what's funny though is that you're like, I don't think it's based on one of these books. If it was based on one of those comics, we'd have to watch it for Watchmen.
Yes.
So
I hope it's not.
As far as I know, it is not. They do not have any Rippaverse adaptations coming yet, as far as I know.
I don't know.
But they're making millions of bucks per book, so that I wouldn't be surprised that comes soon.
Well,
yeah,
that sounds terrifying.
Usually I say, well, good for them. But in this case, I'm not going to say good for them when it comes to the Rippaverse. I'm not going to say it.
No.
I'm withholding my good for them.
There you go.
I had to pause the thing I was watching to do this podcast. I was watching the new... What's wrong with your eyes?
Nothing. I'm listening.
Your eyes just bugged out of your head. Look at that.
No, nothing.
This is a whole new dimension to this bullshit. I was watching Kunk on Life.
Oh, okay.
The new Philomena Kunk documentary.
Yeah.
And she's so funny. It's unbelievable how funny she is.
She's very funny.
Did you watch her last one on Netflix?
The Kunk on Earth?
Yeah.
Is that the last one? Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Oh, man. I had to stop it to do this, but I'm excited to go back because it's very, very funny already. It's a great character. I think it's a great character because she's like confidently stupid, but she's not mean. Like It's like a really interesting place that she exists in, where she's very confident, very stupid, and is not like clowning on people. It's like a very fascinating spot to be in. Because like Ali G is clowning on people. And I like it. I'm not against it, but that character is clowning on people. Borat is clowning on people. Very different kind of thing. Anyway. Anyhow.
I finished watching What We Do in the Shadows, the final season.
I haven't finished it yet.
Oh.
I heard the ending is very controversial.
The ending has the perfect ending and then goes on for like another 10 minutes. And it's like, you should have ended it there.
Oh, no. No.
It's good. It's good. It's just one of those things where it's like, you had it. You had it. And you just kept going. That's too bad.
That is too bad.
Yeah.
Well, enough about this. Oh, you know what's on HBO Max? I was going to watch it over dinner tonight, but I didn't have enough time to actually watch the first. Look at you again.
I'm looking at you.
What are you doing?
Well, you're leading up to something, so I'm showing interest.
It's
We're on video now. We have to do things.
It's fucking unnerving, frankly. I am deeply unnerved by your eyes tonight. Stuff. I am. Are your contacts hurting?
No, I did that on purpose. I'm doing it on purpose.
Okay. The Pit.
Oh, the new Noah Wyle show, right?
Yes, which I hear is really good.
Not based on the Dale Keown comic, which is
not based on the Dale Keown comic, and also not based on ER, even though it's Noah Wyle is a doctor in an ER again. It is not based on ER. It is not based on that. It's also not based on the new universe.
Nope.
Where the Pittsburgh was destroyed and turned into the Pit.
Yes.
But I've heard it's really good, and the premise is really intriguing. It's, I think, 15 episodes, and each episode is 1 hour.
Okay.
Like real time. So like episode 1 is 8 a.m.
Okay.
Episode 2 is 9 a.m.
Like, you see what was interesting. Like every episode is an hour.
No, it's like the first episode is 8 a.m. Second episode is 9 a.m. It's like an entire shift. You're following a whole shift the whole day.
So it's like 24, but half the length.
24, but probably less torture.
Yeah.
And less coyotes menacing people is my guess. That was a very good storyline in 24.
Was it? What if in the pit he has to torture like a disease out of somebody?
Oh, that would be amazing if he had to torture somebody in the pit. But I suspect that he's not gonna have to.
No,
no. Wiley's a librarian now. He can't do that kind of evil stuff. He can only be a good guy.
I guess so.
So, is the librarian a thing we should watch for Watchmen? It's not based on a comic, but it has. I guess like Indiana Jonesy.
No. Not based on a comic, and we did it in Indiana Jones, and it was terrible. So let's not do that again.
All right. Do we have news this week?
We do. Seth Rollins, a wrestler and not the producer of Woody Allen films, has been cut out of Captain America 4. This comes after his wife, Becky Lynch, was cut out of the Eternals. So this family really struggling to be in Marvel movies.
You know what, though? Honestly, they got paid, so I wouldn't even care, frankly. But
I don't know. I'd be a little bummed out. You know,
I got to go do the thing and get paid. I don't know. I mean,
but also
nobody's gonna talk shit on me now. That's the thing.
That's true. But if you're trying to get your career started, like a movie career, being like a bad guy or whatever in Captain America is pretty cool. And then they're like, you're cut out.
All these wrestling guys should fucking slow down a little bit, though.
Yeah.
They all think that they're going to be The Rock, and it's just not going to happen, bros.
No.
John Cena, that's who you want to be. But John Cena also is like an enormous talent.
Yes.
Like an enormous talent.
Yes. Or Dave Bautista.
Dave Bautista, also an enormous talent.
Yes. Two guys who really work at it. Especially Bautista really works at it.
The Rock did a great tweet about Red One, where he's like, Red One's a huge hit along our many verticals. I want to congratulate our partners for their strategic release. I'm like, are you a person, dude? Like, what is happening here? It's a big hit among our many verticals. Jesus Christ. Yeah. That is a crazy way to tweet. That is for a fucking professional wrestler turned action movie actor. That is nuts. Oh,
see you in Q2.
Yeah. Do we know who Sonny Rollins is playing?
Seth Rollins. No,
I know. It was a little bit. It was a little. Sonny Rollins, a famous musician.
Yes, I know who Sonny Rollins is. No, we don't. It was believed he was one of like the, what are they called, the snake
Serpent Societies.
Serpent Society. But
is there even a Serpent Society in this movie anymore? Nobody knows.
Well, Gus Fring's in it, and that's it. I think he's the only one, right? Because he wasn't in it, and then they brought him in. I guess maybe like they were like, Seth Rollins, you're out. Oh, geez. Here comes
your belly, and now you're hitting the mic.
I'm all over the place.
And your eyes are bulging out of your head.
I gotta tell you something. I've been very sleepy today. No, I've been very sleepy today. It's been a weird day. Yeah, but Giancarlo Esposito they brought in, but he was not originally in the movie.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, he's in it. And it's amazing because everyone at Marvel keeps saying like, no, we didn't do massive reshoots. You brought in a whole new character. And now we know you cut out a bunch of other characters, at least one other character.
I think that
massive reshoots.
They also redid Sabra pretty significantly. I think she's probably no longer Sabra, is my guess. That's my most educated guess.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Now she's Sabaro.
She's overpriced. She slings overpriced bad pizza.
Yes. Yeah.
There was a Sbarro in Times Square. So I was like, who the fuck goes to Sbarro in Times Square? Like, you're in Times Square in New York and you're going to get Sbarro? Like, that's crazy to me.
That is, I am not a big fan of the U.S. Office, but that is one of the joke that they did on the show that made me laugh very hard, where Michael goes into Manhattan for something. And he's like, and whenever I come to the city, I've got to go to the best pizza place in the world. And the camera turns and it's a Sbarro in Times Square. It's like, that's good. That's funny.
Yeah, that is very funny.
Yeah.
All right. What else?
Andy Muschietti maybe is trying to get out of doing Batman.
It really feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. He recently said that he has not talked to Gunn since Gunn started filming Superman. And then in the same interview on I believe it's a Spanish radio show, he said that The Flash failed because they didn't sell it to women very well. That there was nothing for women to like about it. And people just in general don't like The Flash.
That's a crazy thing to say. Why did you make that movie? Oh, this is a character everybody hates. Yeah. That's why I spent 2 years of my life making a movie about him.
He said, talking about The Rock, he said it failed to hit all four quadrants of movie-going demographics. So there you go. When you spend $200 million making a movie, Warner Brothers wants you to get the grandmothers into theaters. Muschietti went on to say that behind closed doors, he found people don't care about The Flash as much as other beloved DC icons like Superman or Batman. and noted this is especially true for women under and over 25.
So 25-year-olds love the Flash, but everybody
Yes,
over and under
24
26,
below? 26,
get the fuck out of here. Yeah,
25 is the sweet spot.
that's it. It's always all the way to 25-year-old women.
Yes.
That's so funny. What a dumb thing to say.
Yeah.
What a dumb thing to say. It is such a dumb thing to say. And it's like, you did not make a movie that appealed to people. That's the problem. You know, that's the issue. At the end of the day, you know, we've been through this. Like,
I wish I could have been there for the interview to be like, do you think part of the problem is that the Flash's love interest is in the movie for 2.4 seconds?
Yeah, I mean, there's like so many different pieces of that movie that's just not put together well. You know, I enjoyed big pieces of it. The ending is the final battle is awful. It's a parody of what makes these final battles bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, nobody liked this Marvel characters in 2008. Like, I don't like this. Just like, nobody liked Captain America.
Flash was definitely more popular than Iron Man.
He had like a 9-season TV show.
Well,
the Flash.
Yeah. But in 2008, the show hadn't started yet. So
I'm saying, like, right now, the Flash, like, he has a 9-season TV show under his belt that indicates some level of interest and popularity and awareness.
Yes. Yeah.
Way more than Captain America.
Yes. And you know, it can't be the movie's fault.
No, it can't be Andy Machete's fault, who also released a terrible It Part 2.
Yeah. Well, now you got Welcome to Derry coming.
Yeah, I know.
We'll see about that.
I'm going to watch it like an asshole.
Sure. Are you still watching the Dune Prophecy?
No, I made it one episode.
Okay.
I made it one episode, and I got to the end, and I forgot that it was on the next week. And then when I was like, I have to watch 2 now, I was like, oh, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to watch 2. So that really solved it. I might get to it at some point and give it another shot, but even people who like it are like, it's all right. So like, that's not a ringing endorsement. But they brought it back for season 2. So that actually increases my chances of watching it, because it's possible they fix shit in season 2.
Like, more garbage I won't like. Perfect.
No, there's a chance they fix shit in season 2, and so I will maybe wade through season 1 in the hopes that season 2 is an improvement.
Yeah.
So,
well, there you go. Final bit of news. DC and Warner Brothers are going to have a special look at Superman during the Puppy Bowl. So get ready for that. James Gunn and his dog Ozu are going to introduce a scene.
Very excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. And then finally, Colin Farrell won a Golden Globe.
Good for him.
For playing the Penguin.
Good for him.
I wonder if they're going to take it away from him, though, because he won it for limited series. And they're like, we're going to do a second season. So it's like, well, you're not limited anymore. Unless 100 seasons, it ended at some point. It was limited. We didn't go forever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
There's a couple of other pieces of news. One that you're not going to like talking about.
If it's any of the Marvel stuff, it's all just random rumors. There's a billion random rumors from
this. Is you're not going to like. You're not going to like this at all. This is like antithetical to you.
Okay.
But I find this so fascinating. So Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni have been having this lawsuit back and forth. She claims, and probably was, harassed by him while making This Ends With Us. I know enough people in this town who have interacted with Justin Baldoni to fully believe what she says.
Well, he produced the Garfield movie, so that's all I need to know about him.
The latest bit of it is that he is now claiming in a lawsuit that the Nice Pool character in Deadpool and Wolverine is a mockery of him. And it definitely, now when I know the story about Justin Baldoni, it 100% is like, oh yeah, that definitely is a mockery of Justin Baldoni. And like, because Baldoni has like a feminist podcast, and that's like part of like Nice Pool's thing. He has the ponytail. He has that, like, he's like fake nice all the time. But the big thing that really, I think, brings it over the line is that at the end of the movie, Deadpool holds up Nice Pool as a human shield, and he is killed by Lady Pool, who is played by Blake Lively.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, that 100% is the case. Like, that's 100%.
Yeah.
So there's like a deleted scene where he says, "Oh, Nice Bull says, oh, well, my next goal is to monetize feminism by having a women's podcast," and that's, I mean, like, it's just like it feels, but like that's like amazing because that's the kind of behind the scenes thing that like actually alters the movie when you
Yeah.
watch it again or something like that. Because I thought Nice Pool was funny. I like the Nice Pool stuff, but now it's funny and it's like biting. It is
Yeah.
like enormously biting. And the idea of letting your wife kill the guy that sexually harassed her on a movie set is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And I am not like a Ryan Reynolds dude. I have turned on Ryan Reynolds pretty significantly, but this has maybe earned him a little bit in my estimation.
Well, there you
The fact
go.
that Baldoni's mad about it and his lawyers are drawing attention to it actually makes it only funnier. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, just take the L and move along on that.
It's a real Streisand effect on this one.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. So yeah, that's been like really deeply intriguing to me for like the last couple of days, because it just seems so crazy. The big rumor that is probably not real is that George Miller's interested in doing either Thor 5 or World War Hulk. It's not from a great source, but it actually is one of those ones that if you were making it up, it's pretty reasonable. Because Miller did just work with Chris Hemsworth and got great work out of Hemsworth and had a great time with him. So the idea that Hemsworth's like, "Hey George, can you come and do Thor 5, please? We need a good movie finally," makes sense. Like that actually reads to me, you know. And Miller almost did the Justice League, so he's not against this kind of stuff.
No, but he is 80 years old.
Well, no, I know that's an issue, but you know, so is Ridley Scott. You know, so is Martin Scorsese. So is Steven Spielberg. You guys are still making movies. 80 years old isn't what 80 years old used to be, and unlike what Tarantino says, it doesn't mean that you're making bad movies. Do you know what I mean? Like that's Tarantino's thing is like old directors make bad movies, but like
Scorsese and Spielberg,
George Miller, fucking Furiosa is an incredible fucking movie, and it's like a movie that like has so much energy. Doesn't feel like an 80-year-old made it, you know? So I'm intrigued by that. I would like to see George Miller show up. I think the problem is going to be the Sam Raimi problem, which is that he's going to show up, he's going to make a movie that's probably going to be mostly a George Miller movie, and he's going to have a nice time making it, and then everybody online is going to say, they ruined George Miller. They ruined... Because it's like, Sam Raimi made pretty much a Sam Raimi movie with Doctor Strange. I mean,
Multiverse of Madness is a Sam Raimi movie.
It doesn't start that way, but by the end, it has blossomed into a Sam Raimi movie.
It starts that way. It starts with a giant eye monster being stabbed through the eye, and then all the pus coming out of it, and Doctor Strange being like that's how you do it, or whatever he says.
It has elements. Yeah, I mean, it has elements of Raimi there for sure, but by the end, it is just so full on Raimi.
Yeah.
And I'm sure George Miller would come in and make a movie that's got really his fingerprints all over it, but nobody can actually identify these things. And so people think that Raimi was like muzzled making Doctor Strange when he clearly wasn't, and he had a great time doing it.
Yes.
So, but I'm all for it. If George Miller wants to do it, he's not going to be able to get the funding together for another Mad Max movie, which he wanted to do.
No.
Because Furiosa did not do well, which is a crime, by the way.
I agree.
A crime.
I agree.
So like, let's let George make a big movie before he goes.
Sure.
Let's let him make Thor 5. Him and Hemsworth really worked well together. Fucking Hemsworth is amazing in Furiosa.
He's fantastic in Furiosa.
It's like one of his best performances. Maybe his best performance ever, I would almost say.
His best performance since Star Trek.
Or since Ghostbusters.
No, I was only joking, but yeah. I do think Hemsworth is, I think, a good actor. Like,
I agree.
Endgame, he does a really good job in Endgame, actually, having just rewatched that.
No, he's a really good actor. I like Hemsworth a lot. And he is actually amazing in Star Trek. I mean, like, that's a joke, but like that's the movie that made everybody see and go, "Oh my God, this guy's incredible." Like,
he
has 5 minutes of screen time, and he's like one of the best things in the whole movie.
Yeah.
So that's the big rumor. I'm all for it. That's one of those rumors that maybe isn't true, but I'm willing to manifest by talking about it.
Sure.
You know, why not?
There's endless Marvel rumors right now.
Yeah, there's like it's really boiling up, the Marvel rumors right now.
Yeah.
The other big rumor, and again from another guy who is fairly reliable, Jeff Snyder. Marvel is looking to recast T'Challa.
Yes.
And I think that makes sense.
I think they're a little late on that one. They're gonna have to figure out something.
Well, they're making Secret Wars. I think that actually figures it out for you.
Do you just move T'Challa from a different reality into the 616 as it was?
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, like something along those lines. If at the end of Secret Wars there's like a reconstruction of reality, you can just have him be there.
Mm.
What's so funny is that Hickman's Secret Wars, like when that was announced, I was like, I cannot believe they're fucking rebooting the Marvel Universe. I was so mad about it. And then when it ends, they didn't reboot the Marvel Universe. An entire event was to bring Miles Morales into the 616.
Yeah.
It was like unbelievable. It was like the single biggest effect of that was bringing Miles Morales into the Marvel Universe.
That was
so funny.
The only effect.
I mean, there's like little effects. The Maker has become a villain across all sorts of places. And the Fantastic Four had like a really big cosmic couple of years.
Yeah.
Because they were writing them out of Marvel.
Yes.
Was the premise, because they were doing that Fox movie. But then the way they wrote it out, which is that the Fantastic Four were going to go explore the new multiverse and help create it, actually gave a lot of space for a pretty cool Fantastic Four comic. So.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Spider-Man 4 is being rewritten is one.
I mean, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
That I totally believe. I have no problem believing at all. I believe that is probably a movie that, I mean, all of the rumors and all the behind the scenes stuff has indicated that Marvel and Sony are on the same page about this movie.
Yeah.
And so, like, with that in mind, it does make sense that they're rewriting it, because nobody has been able to come to the place where everybody's happy about it.
Sure. Sure.
So that makes a tremendous amount of sense.
Oh, also, one thing we forgot is Madam Web is not eligible for Best Picture at the Oscars.
Why is that? Did you read that? I didn't read this.
I don't know. I do not know.
I would like to know why. I would like to know why.
Because it was really bad.
I mean, that has not stopped other movies from winning the Oscar for Best Picture. True. So I don't know. I guess we'll find. I guess we'll find out. All right. Do we have viewer mail?
We do. Although there's one more piece of news. I guess we can discuss this.
What's this?
Tom Holland and Zendaya got engaged.
Yes. How nice is that? That makes me so happy.
Yeah, we're gonna have the real Spider-Man wedding.
Yeah. You posted a picture of the two of them.
Yes.
And what was it you said about this picture?
It looks like a picture of a celebrity who went to the prom with a goofy kid who made a viral video for YouTube asking her out to the prom. Yeah.
I thought that was right on target. I mean, Tom Holland's obviously very good looking and very athletic and whatever, but he's little.
Very good shape, yeah. But he's
little and
also he's
in high heels.
He's wearing a pair of jeans and like a t-shirt,
right?
And she's wearing like this crazy dress and stuff. Yeah.
But I really liked the Peter MJ vibes from that picture, though. Like that's like Peter Parker going to one of Mary Jane's modeling things or something like that. Like I loved that. That was like such a delightful thing. But I love these kids in love. It makes me so happy. I'm going to be sad when they get divorced, but as always happens. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying the love.
That always happens.
I don't know about that.
There's relationships that made it.
Between two very famous people?
Yeah.
Yeah, like who?
Paul Newman and I can't think of his wife's name.
Joanne,
yeah.
Joanne Woodward. I mean, yeah, but how long ago did they both die?
Yeah, but they were together until then.
I know, but I'm saying these days the big celebrity marriages don't last. That's just my experience.
Kurt and Goldie.
Again, they got married 40 years ago. Like, give me a recent one, like Brad and Angelina.
A recent one, you're gonna be like, well, that's too soon. Like, who knows?
I guess that's why George Clooney was smart to marry a lawyer.
Yeah,
it's gonna last. There's too much competition between big Hollywood stars. It breaks the marriage apart.
There's one.
That's my take.
What am I thinking of? There's one.
You're thinking of even Chris Pratt got divorced.
Yeah.
No, and he loves Jesus, and he got divorced. It's crazy.
True. I know there's somebody out there.
Oh, you know what we need to talk about really quickly?
What?
The It's Always Sunny Abbott Elementary crossover.
Oh, okay, sure.
You didn't like it, huh?
No, I thought it was a very bland Abbott Elementary episode.
I liked it a lot. I liked
Yeah.
it a lot. Yeah.
Do
I
you
mean,
normally watch Abbott Elementary?
I have watched Abbott Elementary. I'm not up
Okay.
to date on Abbott Elementary, but I have watched a bunch of episodes. Like I probably watched the first 2 or 3 seasons is my guess.
Okay.
Um, and I did not. I kind of fell off. It was like one of Brittany's favorite shows, and like the certain things become challenging to watch as a result of that.
Sure.
But I thought what was really interesting is that it's really a Sunny episode.
But it's not.
But like the
Th-
Sunny
th- th-
characters are the main characters of that episode.
I they're all over it, yes, but they don't have except Charlie is the best story in there, right? Them teaching Charlie to read is very
Mhm.
funny. That stuff is great. But Dee is not Dee in the story.
Oh, I disagree. She seems like Dee to me in a big way.
They dress her up as Benjamin Franklin. She does not go overboard with it. That is 100% she would go overboard with that.
I mean, yeah, okay,
And
that's
she would say
fair.
some, and understandably, this is on, what is Abbott Elementary on?
ABC.
ABC. So they can't go as far as Sunny goes, but she would be saying things to those kids.
Well, here's the thing. The reason why they couldn't do that is not because it was on ABC, but because they needed to grow her menace. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, Quinta Brunson would have figured it out too early. They
Oh,
need
no,
that
totally.
character to not realize that Dee is a total lunatic
Yeah.
until much later in the episode. So that's
Yeah.
the reason why they had to dial her down a little bit. And you can't make the main character of Abbott Elementary seem stupid, which
Yes.
is what usually happens on Sunny. They meet people and the people seem stupid because they don't realize they're dealing with actual psychopaths.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the? How are you not realizing this is a psychopath? But that's what I like about the Frank story is the janitor knows Frank's a total psychopath.
Apparently, there's a whole storyline with Frank and the janitor that was cut out, that they've known each other for years is part of the story.
That's amazing. Well, they did shoot the whole Sunny episode at the same time.
Yes, which is where Dennis is the main character of that.
Is
And
that
that's why he's
true?
missing. That's what Rob McElhenney said.
Oh, okay.
Because that everything about Dennis will be explained in that episode. Like, because when I was watching the episode, I didn't know that there was an Always Sunny episode as well. So I was like, did Glenn Howerton just be like, I don't want to fucking do this?
Well, I had heard that he was filming a TV show and they couldn't get him. That was what I had heard originally. That was a whole problem with Danny DeVito too. They had a really hard time getting Danny DeVito.
Okay.
Because this is not their show. Like they needed to get everybody together. So like Rob McElhenney's story, Mac's story, I think is going to be much more fleshed out.
Much more fleshed out, yeah.
Because he's running something. He's running some kind of angle.
He's getting her car and stuff. Yeah.
And it's not just to get the thing signed, right? No. So it's going to be interesting to see what that is. But I really had a great time. I really liked the fact that the characters felt truly insane. Like, and on a show where the characters are not insane.
Yeah.
I thought it was really delightful that they kept that. Like, I thought it was really interesting because one of my favorite things in Sunny is when they do meet regular people and like to be reminded, oh, these people are nuts. Like we just watch them in the bar every week. So we kind of sometimes forget that they're totally insane.
Well, which is also part of it is that because they're all having separate stories, they're not interacting with each other. And that's where their craziness really comes out.
Right.
And so that's kind of like not seeing Mac and Charlie yelling at each other and stuff is missing from it.
But I think also that's another reason. Another thing is you can't do them in school for a week and have them behave that way.
No.
Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. I think that's one of the drawbacks of the premise. Unless you were doing a show where it was literally set in 30 minutes, where they could get kicked out of the school within 30 minutes. But since they decided to make it the whole week so that they could have longer storylines.
Yeah.
And it worked because I think the Charlie storyline needed the whole week. And I think that storyline was really, really good.
Yeah. The Charlie storyline was very funny. That I enjoyed a lot.
And I really liked him just saying his Only Sunny stuff to people who don't understand what the fuck he's. What do you like? I like milk steak, bird law, and they're like, birds. Okay, good.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I really enjoyed that because it just draws into contrast how insane these people are. They're truly unhinged.
Yeah.
So I had a nice time. I was not expecting much. I thought they were going to be much more watered down and become regular sitcom characters. Okay. And they did not feel like regular sitcom characters.
No, they didn't. But they didn't. I can imagine as much as I was hoping, and there wasn't as much interaction. Like I'm hoping that the now that I know that there's a second half to the episode, so to speak, that more of it will be filled in and it'll work better together.
Right.
But like I was like, oh, they start off and there's the one teacher who's like, have you guys ever been to a Phillies game? I'm like, of course. Or have you ever gotten to a fight at a Phillies game? They're like, of course. It's like, oh, that's where I know you from. Like I wanted to see more of her interacting with them, and she didn't. And so it's like it seemed like they just couldn't figure out how to enough for all the characters, and so characters just kind of disappeared, just didn't
I
do
don't know.
anything.
I liked her story because she was the one. She's from South Philly, that character, and so she's the
Yeah,
one who's been to Patty's.
yeah, she
And
figures it
she
out.
actually knows these people are lunatics.
Yeah,
I like that. And again, that's one of the reasons why you have to keep some characters apart, because if she figures that out earlier in the week, it sort of like takes away. Anyway, it's narrative stuff. But I thought I had a good time. I laughed a lot. I thought that Frank sleeping in urine pelts is just like
that was great.
100% a
Yeah.
Sunny
Well,
bit. Like that's
not even just that, but also, were you the one that was eating the fertilizer? He's like, yeah. After we put the garlic and onion on it,
yeah.
that was good.
That's just a Sunny bit. Like that's amazing. Like they just did a
Yeah.
Sunny bit. I can't imagine what an Abbott Elementary regular watcher thought of this. Like they
I-
must have been like very
confused. Yeah,
but also maybe even upset, because that's not the kind of comedy that Abbott is. Like it's just not that
No.
style of comedy.
no, it's much more traditional sitcom kind of stuff.
And it's really great. It's a really well written, really great show.
Yeah, it's a very good show. It's a very good show.
But yeah, it is not people eating dirt and sleeping in urine pelts comedy.
No.
Anyway, all right, let's do viewer mail.
All right, we have Charles Villanueva asks, what is your favorite non-Spider-Man Marvel video game? We all know Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man PS4 5 games are goated, all-timers, but there's so much Marvel games out there. Incredible Hulk, Ultimate Destruction was a favorite of mine, as well as X-Men Legends. Curious on what Marvel games you've enjoyed over the years. For me, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, I think, is perhaps the perfect Marvel game. That's where I would go with that.
Which one is that?
That is the sequel to the X-Men Legends games, but it's all the Marvel characters, and it's 4 players at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And the characters, it's like a bird's eye view thing, and you're running around, you're fighting everybody, doing whatever the mission is, and you got to answer trivia questions throughout it. Like you go back to Doctor Strange's base, and there's all like a billion different characters, like every Marvel character, and their mom is in that game. It's amazing.
Is X-Men Legends the X-Men arcade game that then came onto consoles?
No.
I like the X-Men arcade game. My answers are a little more modern. I am really enjoying Marvel Rivals right now. I'm an Overwatch guy, so that really helps. Like I like that style of game. I like having like a 15-minute match that I'm just killing guys. As always with those kinds of games, it's really challenging at first because you don't know how to use the characters properly. Every character is so customized.
Yeah.
And then also you got to know the maps, which is also takes a long time to learn. But I've been playing the same map for a day, and that really helps. Now I kind of know that map, and so I can actually do well. I made player of the game today.
Oh, congratulations. Did you print it out?
No. No. How do they make this game and not get sued by Blizzard? It's the exact same game as Overwatch. They just put Marvel characters inside of it. It's crazy to me.
I don't know.
It is so insane. It is the exact same game. Like every mechanic of it is exactly the same.
It really annoy the hell out of Activision, who once had the Marvel license, and be like, sons of bitches. Like,
I mean, yeah, that's
every single time a Marvel game comes out and does well, they have to be like, God damn.
But I think the best Marvel game anybody's ever made is Midnight Suns.
Midnight Suns is a great game.
And I think it's the best Marvel game anybody's ever made because it's a good game. I'm not big on the card thing. That's not like my preferred way of playing a video game.
I just like making friends with everybody.
That's the thing. I think that captures the Marvel thing of that you like these characters and you like these characters interacting. And that I think is the thing that's really magical about it, because nobody actually reads Marvel comics for the fights. The fights are a big part of it, obviously, but what you read the comics for is for the characters and back and forth and like them, interacting. And that game really gives you that in its spades. So
yes, that's true. That's very true. I enjoyed that game very much.
I like it very much. It sold like shit.
Yep,
it's like, I think the studio went under. It was sold so badly. Is that the case? No, it's still open.
I don't think
okay,
so. I think so.
We're never getting a sequel. They set up a sequel. We're never getting it, and we're never getting any other kinds. Like an X-Men game with that format would be so amazing.
Yeah,
just like classic X-Men. You're living in the mansion, like you're making friends and romancing the other X-Men. That's like absolutely a fucking game. That's just
perfect. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of X-Men, I've been catching up on the new status quo of X-Men. Oh, the eyes again. Jesus Christ.
Whatever you go speaking of, I'm going to do that. Just so you know.
I've been catching up on the new status quo of X-Men, the Out of the Ashes status
Oh,
quo, which is that after Krakoa fell, what the X-Men are doing now. They're very smart because they're like, there's not really a status quo. It's like people don't like mutants that much. Okay, go. And like, which is what the X-Men should always be. It should always be, people don't like mutants all that much. There are some mutants they like, some mutants they don't like. Okay, go.
yeah.
And a number of them are good. I enjoy a number of them. But the one that is no joke exceptional is Exceptional X-Men, which is the one about Kitty Pryde.
Okay.
And it is so fucking good. It
Yeah.
is exactly the stuff that we have talked about on this podcast with the problem with comics these days, where there's no personal story, there's no secondary characters. And this book is full of that stuff. And the premise is that after the Krakoa, Kitty Pryde, who became a pirate during those days and was going by Kate Pryde, has decided that she's done with all of this shit. And she doesn't want to deal with X-Men stuff. She doesn't want to deal with superhero stuff anymore. She goes to Chicago and she gets a job as a bartender. And she's working as a bartender, trying to just be a regular person. She's like trying to go on dates. There's this woman that she's trying to date, and like they're having like problems making their schedules match up. And she ends up at this club the wrong day. She thought that she was going to go see this other band, and then she's there the wrong day. And it's like some kind of like K-pop band. And outside, one of the fans gets into a fight with one of the bouncers, and the fan turns out to be a mutant. And so Kitty, against her own better judgment, gets involved with this girl and like helps her get out and then takes her home. And the girl just keeps bothering her and saying like, hey, will you come be my friend? Hey, will you teach me how to be an X-Man? And Kitty's like, no, I will not do any of these fucking things. But she got a roommate. She meets other kids, like, and it's like kind of amazing. It's like really good. It's a lot of the stuff is not action. It's just Kitty talking. They do a thing, Al Ewing writes it, where Kitty is talking to the audience, which your mileage may vary on that.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I think it's okay. It's not that different than having thought bubbles or captions. It's the same thing. It just feels more like she's like saying, you know, you wouldn't believe the day I've had, and she's telling us.
So it's just he's like, well, they don't let us do thought bubbles or narration panels anymore.
They've
so
been
I'll just
doing
have
narration panels in the X-Men books now.
Have they? Okay.
They're back. Yeah, they're back. But it's really good. The art is amazing. It just got like a real sense of like looseness and character that to it. And there's a lot of different characters introduced. I don't know which of them will be important moving forward, but like we get to meet people she works with and stuff like that. Maybe they won't be important. I don't know. But it feels like there's like a whole world around her, not just like X-Men. I just think it's delightful. It's just absolutely delightful. So I really recommend it. Exceptional X-Men. And the thing is that she ends up with these kids through circumstances, these teens who are kind of coming to her to learn how to be a mutant. And she's like, I don't want to do it. But at the same time, Emma Frost also is doing it. And so what ends up happening is Emma Frost shows up and goes, don't worry, Kitty, I'll take these kids. And Kitty's like, no, you cannot have these kids. And so I kind of like it. And the thing about Kitty Pryde that's really interesting is that she's like Spider-Man, and that she's one of the few comic book characters who've been allowed to grow up.
Yeah.
And so to go from 14-year-old Kitty Pryde in X-Men to now Kitty Pryde, who's an adult who is now taking 14-year-olds under her wing, I think is great. Like that's so cool. That's so good to me. So I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, good.
Strongly recommend it. Strongest recommendation from me.
There you go.
The other X-Men books are really good too. They're all really well written right now. The mainline ones, Uncanny and X-Men. Also in X-Men, they've introduced a whole bunch of new mutants who are really interesting, including one mutant who died at birth and now lives between the two worlds. And he's a total weird creep. And he's like really horrible. And he's like a little kid. Like he's like a little manga. They call him the manga kid because he looks like a little demon from a manga. Like he looks like like the black hair and like, he's all white. And he's such a weird character. And there's a girl whose mutant powers that she's bonded with her horse, and the horse has fire wings.
Sure.
Like this is the shit I like, man. Like I don't want like my powers with it. Yeah, I don't want my powers. I have guns. Like my power is like, hey, I'm bound with this horse that flies because it has fire wings. Like that's really fucking cool, man. That's like really.
That's
great.
always more fun. That's always more fun stuff.
Yeah. So there's a girl there's a new girl on the team who her power is that she can do anything perfectly for 1 minute.
Oh, there you go.
That's like a real DC kind of power, right? I mean, like that really has like Our Man vibes. Yeah. But she has 1 minute. She has a stopwatch that she'll hit at the beginning when she activates the power, so that she knows that how much time she has to continue doing this thing perfectly until time runs out.
What happens when time runs out? Like, can she just start it again, or does she have to wait 24
They
hours or
haven't
anything?
specified that there's a cooldown. I'm sure there is a cooldown. That hasn't been specified. They haven't, as far as I've read, they haven't done a ton of fighting. They've done training.
Okay.
So, and that's great too, because it's like three or four issues in, and they haven't they had a little bit of fighting, but they haven't had like a tremendous amount
Yeah.
of fighting.
Wow.
And
Well, there you
it's Gail Simone's writing that, and to give you a sense of like where she's coming from, the first issue opens with Rogue and a couple of other X-Men coming as a Make-A-Wish to see a dying kid in the hospital. So like the attitude on this is very different than I think a lot of other X-Men books, where it's like more militaristic or more action oriented. The fact that that's where it begins,
Yeah.
I think really tells you like what the vibe is.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So I cannot recommend them enough. And they're all available on the Marvel Unlimited app.
There you go. Get the Marvel Unlimited app. It's a great app. Not as good as the DC app because it's harder to find things on there, but
DC app's also impossible to find things.
DC app, I think, is much easier to find things than the Marvel app.
That's a low bar. Marvel app.
Oh, no. Don't get me wrong. Neither one's good.
Marvel app, they're hiding things from you. They're actively hiding things from you.
Marvel, if you put in like Spider-Man 1962, it'll be like, do you mean issue 162 from the third volume? You're like, what? No. It's like, well, you're going to have to go through 17 pages to find anything near what you're looking for.
Yeah, you type like Amazing Spider-Man, and then it'll be like, did you mean this Spider-Man miniseries from 1992 where he's battling Gun Guy? Like, no, that's not what I fucking meant. Nobody meant that. Nobody's looking for that fucking miniseries. No. They're looking for Amazing Spider-Man. They're looking for the first fucking volume, by the way.
Yes.
Like, just give it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're all very terrible that way.
Each one, and I don't understand why this does not exist, just needs a filter where you put it in release date order.
It's so crazy, isn't it?
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
And then it'd be like, oh, here you go. Okay, good.
All right, what's our second question?
This is from Robert Teagan. With War of Rohim, Rohim's failure at the box office, do you think we'll ever see 2D or pseudo 2D? What?
The War of Radio Rahim.
What is that?
The Rohirrim.
Rohirrim, whatever.
The War of Radio Rahim.
War of made up fucking name by Tolkien. Who gives a shit?
So funny. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you think we'll ever see 2D or pseudo 2D theatrical animation used to tell a larger scale superhero story, something like Nightfall or No Man's Land? I've heard of Warner Premiere has plans to do a multi-part Nightfall, but their animation makes Hanna-Barbera look like Fleischer Studios. I want Western animation to get the shine a lot of anime seems to get these days.
So I watched War of Rohirrim.
Yeah.
And it's better than I thought it was going to be. But what's really interesting, one, it's anime, and it's not fully anime, like it isn't like all the time anime, but they all have that face.
Yeah.
And when they fight, they're like doing flips, and this is like the horse people. Like no, this is not how they fight. They're like blowing each other back, and they're doing the skid. You know how that kind of thing they do in anime. And like this is not correct. But it's a mix of 2D and 3D, and like the environments are 3D, and the characters are 2D, and it almost does not work ever. It's like very strange. It's like a very odd pairing, and I would love to see more 2D animation. You know, I mean, I'm not like an animation guy per se. I think 2D animation has a lot of possibilities. I also think that 2D animation is going to be really niche moving forward. I don't see a future where we're getting really big movies that are done that way, unless somebody makes it to the top of the chain who has a real passion for 2D and then says, I'm going to use all of my cred to make a 2D movie. That's it, though. So, yeah.
Yep, I would agree. And then we have Brent Price asks, what is your favorite and least favorite comic book retcon? Favorite, I don't know. Favorite's hard. Least favorite, by and far, is the murder of Barry Allen's mom. I despise it. I think it's a terrible idea. I think it ruins the character. That his mother was killed when he was a kid. I think it completely ruins the character.
That's a bad one.
That's a terrible one. Favorite? That's hard. I don't know.
My favorite is easy. It's Winter Soldier.
Oh yes, that is a really good one. That is a
Because
good
that
one.
was the one that seemed like the worst possible one to do. Because
Yeah,
forever, the thing had been the only characters who stay dead are Bucky and Uncle Ben. That was always the thing. Like, that was for decades. That was what we said.
yeah,
And then Bucky comes back, and it was like, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me. But, like, it's so good. That
yeah,
character is really strong. That story is unbelievably good.
yeah,
And it adds depth to Captain America. It adds depth to his little world. It had so much meaning. It also helps retcon some of the old Captain America stuff that doesn't work in the modern world, i.e., sending a 13-year-old to the front lines to go fight Nazis. Like, well, we think it's bad when people do that traditionally. So now they aged him up so that he's not doing that. And also the idea that he's doing the wet works, I think, is really, really great too, because it allows Cap the question of how does Cap fight in World War II without just fucking machine gunning guys, which he does a little bit of. But
yeah.
like, that's not his main MO. And so to have Bucky doing the sniper shots, I think is a great
It's
way
great.
of,
Yeah,
and keeping Cap pure while allowing the realistic violence of war to enter the story. And then just like, I think he's a great character. The torment that he has, he could be grim and gritty, but I don't think he is grim and gritty. I think he's serious, but he's not like some kind of horrible 90s grim and gritty character. I
yeah,
think that really, really works.
yeah. Needs a haircut. Yeah.
My least favorite has got to be Spider-Man
One
deal with
more
the
day.
devil. Yeah, I hate that. I hate it. I hate it to death. It's the worst thing they've ever done. Maybe the other worst retcon is that Green Goblin knocked up Gwen Stacy. It's horrible. It's so bad.
That one is, I think, worse because of the art in that issue is like from her POV for like the sex scene, and it's like, why am I looking at fucking
everything about that is really horrible.
Yeah,
And just the premise is like one of those ones like somebody needed to say no, like needed to say no. This is a
yeah,
hard no. And they didn't do it. And it did not have a good outcome. And it has not even, I think, been part of it's one of those things. Marvel's way of dealing with that stuff traditionally is just to forget it ever happened and
yeah.
never talk about it. And that has fallen right into we're never talking about this category.
I found out recently that Peter Parker has a sister.
When did that happen?
I don't know, but it's great because if you read like her wiki, it's like she is the daughter of Ben and May Parker. Maybe. Like it's clear like she was going to be, and then they were like, no, this is a bad idea. Let's have somebody say that maybe that's not true, but we'll never actually say if it's true or not, and just never bring up this character again.
I love that. That's what you want. I don't want to have a 12-part miniseries explaining her deal or like retconning the universe to explain.
You just go full Simpsons with it.
We're never going to speak of this again.
Yep.
That's it. I agree to those terms.
Yep. DC could learn a lot from those terms. Instead of restarting everything every 10 weeks.
If you want your questions answered here on this podcast, just simply drop us an email at ask.cinema.sangha, SANGHA, at gmail.com. Derek gets those emails. He sorts through them and he picks the ones that we like. We have a backlog still, right? We still have.
We do. We got quite a few.
But still, add yours to the pile. You can ask us questions about the stuff that we cover on these shows. You can ask us questions about other stuff. You can ask us questions about the agricultural revolution. I mean, like whatever it is that you feel like you want an answer to. As long as it's not rude or shitty, please, send it along. So, the eyes is so unsettling. I hate it. I could not hate this anymore. Are you trying to get people to not watch this fucking show?
I'm trying to move on.
And in case you were going to ask me, does The Rock wash his hands after he pees? The answer is no, he does not. I know that for a fact. So, because I was in the restroom with The Rock, peed next to him, and he didn't wash his hands when he left. And then he went to a junket and shook everybody's hands.
There you go.
So, The Rock. Anyway, you ready to talk about the final episode of season 1 of Creature Commandos?
Yes.
Let's do it. Creature Commandos Season 1, Episode 7, A Very Funny Monster. I'm going to say something crazy right now. I think this show needed one more episode.
I think the show needed to not do the flashbacks and focus on a story.
That would have helped, but one more episode, I think, would not have made it good, but the end of this episode is so out of left field. Like,
the final line of this episode feels like there's still more to the scene, but they ran out of time.
Let's do the flashback first.
Okay.
So we have a flashback to Nina Mazursky. You had said she was originally created for the show. She is not created for the show. She
apparently not. Yeah,
she's a character from the comic books. Her origin in the comics is very different than her origin here.
Yeah.
She created the Creature Commandos in the current run. She appeared in Creature Commandos and also Frankenstein, Agent of Shade. And we have her birth, and she is born with her lungs on the outside of her body, which is traditionally a fatal condition. But her mother is like, let her die. And the dad's like, no, somebody says to him, you're the world's greatest scientist. And I was like, what is it? I mean, like, I like Silver Age stuff, but like, come on. Like, I need a little bit more than you're the world's greatest scientist. Like, that's just like so generically vague. And also it's a superhero universe that is like fucking full of great scientists. So yeah. I'm like, what? How? What? Anyway, he builds a device for her that will breathe her lungs, even though they're on the outside. And so she becomes a toddler, and she's like ambling around the house in this thing. It's very heavy. And the mother is like, I can't deal with this anymore. We're torturing this child. It's torturing me. I don't like this kid. This kid doesn't like me. And she leaves. Mom leaves. And Dad, Dr. Mazursky, is running around taking her to the park and shit like that. But the thing is that it's just her device is too heavy. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. So he decides he's going to invent some kind of gene therapy. And what he does is he turns her into a fish.
Yes. And luckily, he turns her into a freshwater fish.
I know. Wouldn't that be amazing if she died in the fucking sink?
Yeah,
because she's
that could have gotten very bad.
He turns her into a fish, and we have a scene where she turns into the fish on the operating table, and then he has to rush her into a sink and pour water over her. And that's her deal. Then he takes her to school. She's homeschooled for a little while. Then he takes her to school. This is this is the part that I think maybe Gunn needed to cut out of the show to make any of it make sense, because it doesn't make sense with this part in it.
None of it makes sense. Anything that happens from this point on makes no sense about her origin and what we know about this universe.
But just within the context of just this origin story, it makes no sense, because she goes to this school. She's wearing like a diver's helmet full of water, and she goes to this school and she starts playing lacrosse, and all the kids are really mean to her, right? And she gets bullied. She gets bullied in the hallway. She gets bullied on the lacrosse field. And she finally decides that she's had enough, and she runs away.
They also keep calling her Frog.
Yeah, she doesn't look like a frog at all.
She doesn't look like a frog.
No, she looks like a fish. I mean, that is like, she looks like a fish. Like, I would say glug glug, little fishy, not say ribbit frog. She's not froggy at all. These kids, this is supposed to be a fancy prep school, and these kids don't know what a frog looks like.
Well, they do because they put one in her locker. So you think at some point they'd be like, hey, Greg, she doesn't look like this.
Also, Greg,
shouldn't we put like trout in her locker or something?
Frogs are amphibious. This girl will drown on dry land. Like, that's not
in theory, because earlier we saw her in a different episode walking around without her helmet on, just talking. So.
She walks without her helmet on for quite a bit in this episode too.
Yeah, but she can't talk when she doesn't have her helmet on. She's suffocating. But earlier in like episode 1, we saw her walking around without the helmet on, no problem.
So she decides to run away. She feels bad. She feels like she's a burden on her dad. Her dad loves her more than anything else in the whole world, but she can't feel it, and she just has gotten bullied too much. So she does what you would do, is that she goes to live among the shit and piss of the sewer. And I was like fucking dying laughing when she takes off all her clothes to go fucking wade into a stream of urine and feces. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Like, I cannot believe this is where you go. Like there's a body of water.
Lakes.
Yeah, there's got to be a fucking lake. She's in Star City, by the way, which is a famous city from DC Comics.
Yeah, it's where
who's from DC? Green Arrow. Green Arrow, Star City. Yeah. So she goes and she does the fugitive dive off out of the pipe, and lives as a fish lady
takes on that Gollum life.
Yeah, it's like really awful. It does feel like she could have had a better life. Like if she had just been slightly more creative and gone to some place that was not a sewer.
Well, she could have had a better life if her father was like, oh, you know what? We live in a world of like superpowered beings and stuff. There's got to be a school for fucking superpowered beings or something. Like where I can send you, where you won't be mocked and hated. Like we know these things have existed for hundreds of years.
I mean, and he's like the world's greatest scientist, so
He's
he
the
has
world's greatest
connections.
scientist.
He
You
has
think he'd be able to
connections.
call up somebody? Yeah.
So she lives in the sewage for a few years, and there's all these reports of a fish girl, and everybody thinks it's not real, which is crazy to me. This is one of my big problems. There's two humongous problems with this origin. This is one of them. She was playing lacrosse.
Yes.
There are hundreds of people who interacted with the fish girl.
Yes.
But the minute these reports of a fish girl come, nobody brings their fucking school yearbook and says, look at the fish girl in my yearbook. It must be the same person. Like, it's crazy to me that this is the premise here.
Well, also in a world where the bride, a reanimated corpse, led a band. We saw that already.
But you know what? That's actually...
that people would be like, I don't buy this fish lady thing.
The thing about the bride leading a band is that people might have just assumed that it was a bit like the vampire Lestat when he becomes a rock star. Nobody thinks he's really a vampire. They think he's just doing the rock star thing. Nobody thought David Bowie was an alien from Mars, right?
No.
So,
but this is a world where aliens from Mars hang out.
No, I know. And that is a issue on some significant level. But I think that the most immediate problem, though, is that in that town, there are people who knew her.
Would be like, oh, you mean Nina? Yeah, I went to school with her.
We school her. Yeah.
We called her Froglet Girl because she didn't look like a frog.
So I had like a really huge problem with that, but not as big as the problem as I had when she finally gets photographed and they send in the police to get her.
Well, they call in animal experts from Gotham and Bloodhaven.
And this is so exciting. They put this live on television.
Yes.
And
also, she seems to be a block and a half away from her house.
Yeah, because her dad gets there real fast.
Right there. Yep.
So they come and they get her and they pull her out of the water and she begins suffocating. Her dad shows up and he's like, she's suffocating. You're killing her. And then he breaks through the police line and he hugs her. He says, you thought you were a burden, but you were always the greatest gift. And then they shoot him in the back and he dies.
Yep.
Very bad.
And then she goes to Belle Reve.
They throw her in a tank, and then she gets put into prison for never committing a crime, never doing anything wrong. Here's the thing. Now,
crazy.
Well, the thing is that makes it crazy is that Weasel has a lawyer.
Yes.
Nina can speak, and she's intelligent.
Hold on. Weasel has a lawyer. G.I. Robot went on trial. We saw his trial.
Yeah, I just feel like
Nina Marzowski can speak. She's a very intelligent. We are told she speaks 4 languages. Yeah. So it's not even like, she's kind of goofy or whatever. She's a highly intelligent person.
I know it's crazy
for not doing anything.
For doing nothing at all. The thing is that she is a person because she was born. So she has a birth certificate and she's a citizen of the United States. So This is not even one of those things like G.I. Robot, like, hey, can you put a robot on trial? It's like, no, this is a person. She just happened to get mutated. Like, this is not a thing like that. And it really drove me nuts. Now, all that needed was one scene where Nina is so traumatized by this that she doesn't speak, that she just goes catatonic and they don't know what to do with her.
They shoot her father and she kills
the cop. That's all.
That's all.
But I also understand why he wants her not to kill anybody. He wants her to be the only pure member of the... Oh, I guess Weasel is pure too, right? Well, he's been killing people elsewhere.
All of this has led to an amazing question.
Yeah.
Why is she on this team?
No, from the beginning, there was no reason for her to be on this team.
No.
This was not a water mission. None of it makes any sense. No piece of it makes sense. And... I got to tell you, even like within the context of the finally thing that she does in the mission, it still doesn't make sense. I bet that the bride doesn't need to breathe underwater.
No, we know that they do need to breathe because we see that with Frankenstein when he's in the water. Eric.
Yeah, but they can't be killed. She's just in the fucking head. I mean, like, these guys can't be killed.
I don't know.
But what's really funny is that her mission is like, you're the only one that can do this, which is swim underneath the princess and stab her. Like, that is like really not that. That's not that advanced a fish girl mission.
I didn't go back, but I'm pretty sure also they say at some point in like the first or second episode that she has extra like strength in water. Like she's super strong in water. Clearly that's not the case.
Also doesn't matter. I mean, like, it's just like so silly. So I thought that the flashback was really awful, and I really had a real big problem with it, and I did not like it. And it, the problem is like they save Nina. He saves Nina for the end, and the premise is this is supposed to be the one that really hurts. But Nina has done nothing the whole series. We've had 6 previous episodes where she's done pretty much nothing.
We are told,
she's like hung around.
Well, we are told after she dies that she was the kindest of them all. And I guess,
I mean, they're all murderous assholes and Weasel. I mean, like, yeah, so of course she is. Like, that's not like,
but like she's never overly kind to anyone. This I said this last week. The biggest problem with this entire show is we don't see these characters interacting. Too much time is spent on these flashbacks. Right. We don't get to know them. We only get to see like you should feel bad for them because this happened to them. And now we'll move on into the story a little bit. Like, give me these characters. Like Ratcatcher 2 in Suicide Squad is very well fleshed out through her like she has the flashback bit, but like she is fleshed out through her actions with the other characters.
Right.
When King Shark or Killer Shark, whatever his name is, Inune tries to eat her, and she's like, "Would you eat a friend?" And he's like, "No." And she's like, "Well, I'm your friend now. We're all friends now. And so let's do that." He's like, and it's like a nice little bit where she like makes friends with him and it's very sweet and blah, 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 blah. And it comes back at the end and all that kind of stuff. Like none of that is here. None of it.
I mean, again, we discussed this a lot while covering this show, which is that what's so frustrating about this show is that we know this is stuff Gunn can do. Like, again, to go back to the Suicide Squad, the scene between Bloodsport and Peacemaker, where they're infiltrating the village and they're having a competitive killing thing. Like, that's like both violence, silly violence, and character at the same time. He's not doing that in this show, though. It's just not happening in this program. No. And he seems to have lost all that or not bothered with any of that.
I did the math. It's not hard math to do, but I did the math. This is James Gunn's 6th project in a row about a group of ragtag ne'er-do-wells who come together to save the day. That's too many. He's fucking, that tank is dry.
Yeah, it might be the case.
And that makes me very hopeful for Superman. That Superman is very different and he's going to be able to do something that really grabs me.
So in the modern day, we have the remaining members of the team are now getting to the castle and they break into the security room. And they are checking out the security cameras to see where the best place to get into the castle is.
Yeah.
What are you laughing at?
This again, there's so much in this sequence that drove me crazy.
They also discover some kind of video footage that's pretty astonishing to them, but we don't get to see it. And while they're doing this, Frankenstein shows up. And we had seen Frankenstein in the cab coming over. Frankenstein's the best part of this show.
Yes.
And Frankenstein in the cab is really funny. Like, it's really good.
Almost everything with Frankenstein has been him interacting with characters.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly. You're right. Yeah, it really is that. Yeah. And he climbs in the window and he's like, "Hey, I'm here, honey." And then I just shoots him and he falls out the window. She jumps down, spits in his face and shoots him right in the head.
Now, here's what I really love. She shoots him like 5 or 6 times. It cuts to a shot of like the head of the palace guards being like, "What was that?" Nobody goes to investigate. They know this team is here trying to kill the princess. They're like, "Fuck it, it's fine.
Who cares?" I don't know. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more out of this final confrontation.
Yeah.
She's like, "You stalking bastard," or whatever it is she says to him, and then shoots him in the head. I understand the anticlimax element of it. Like, that's like part of the joke is that there's an anticlimax. But also it feels just a little bit underwhelming. As an anticlimax, it feels underwhelming. It's an anticlimactic anticlimax is what it feels like. I kind of would have liked another moment. I would have liked her to actually just have a moment to tell him what a fuck up he is, other than just saying, "You stalking creep," and then shoot him. Like, if she could fucking have yelled at him and we could see a sense that he might even begin to understand before he gets killed.
He should have been the reason everything goes pear-shaped.
Mm-hmm.
You know, He shows up, he screws up everything, he comes crashing through the walls, he's like, "Where is she? Where's my bride?" And that's where everything goes off the rails, right? But they don't do that. So she shoots him a bunch, she's like, "You suck."
It's so
Post-credit
weird.
scene, we see that he's hanging out with an old lady again.
There is so much stuff in this show that it ends up going nowhere. Like all this Rick Flag Frankenstein stuff goes nowhere technically because Frankenstein has no impact on the story.
Yes.
And all that Clayface shit could have been done without 3 episodes of bullshit. Like it did not need to be done that way. And I don't think
it's even worse than that. It makes absolutely no sense.
It makes no sense on top of it. But on top of that, it makes no sense. But also it's just like it didn't need to go that way. It doesn't feel like it pays off even though it does technically plot-wise pay off, it doesn't feel like a satisfying payoff.
No.
So they figure out they got to go, and they have seen the back wall of the castle happens to have only one guard. So they go, they kill the guard, and Dr. Phosphorus burns through the castle wall. And they come into this area where there's a lake, and it just so happens the princess is going to go for her daily swim in that lake.
Yeah.
And all the guards are like, don't do it. Like, it's too dangerous. And she goes, I'm going to make an example of my people, yada, yada, yada. And we have that. And I also had a big problem with this, which is I just don't like the coincidence of them coming in where the lake is.
Yeah.
One of my big problems with this episode in general and this whole season is that there's a lot of back and forth about her destroying the whole world. What if you showed me something about her here that would indicate to me that she might be able to do that?
Yeah.
Whether it just is like her being smart enough to know that the monsters are there and that she's drawing them out, or something, just something that not just coincidentally where she goes for her swim is the exact spot where they come through the wall.
Yeah.
And because she's just not a real character, and we're supposed to be going back and forth about what danger she is. And the answer is none, near as I can tell.
She does nothing.
She does nothing. So I was kind of bugged by that. So now we have a whole sequence where she's swimming and the monsters are like looking, and there's a lot of back and forth. Weasel's having his like flashbacks, which we talked about, that the girl that he rescued in his flashback, he combines her with the princess, which again should have been happening right off the bat. Like it's just not well structured. And they realize that it has to be Nina because this is a swimming mission. I mean, that's it. This is your swimming mission. You've done nothing on this whole show so far. We need you to do something. Meanwhile, back home, Rick Flag is waking up from his little coma briefly to tell Amanda Waller that the doctor was not the doctor. And so we have another scene that, again, like that last twist where Bride kills the princess, it needed more fleshing out. And this sequence, I mean, I needed more than just the time that this sequence wasted, but the amount of time this sequence wastes is incredible to me, of Amanda and John going to the house and finding...
Did she make John walk to the house?
He might have parked further down the block, but maybe.
Because he comes up, he is sweating like crazy. He has no car. She gets out of a car, and he's like, oh.
I mean, he might have walked. That actually is funny if that's the case. But like they come into the house to discover things that we already know from 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
And they have to go see Clayface, and then they have to go see the dead girl. And it's like, well, we've already seen these things. Like, there's a much more efficient way to get this information across. There's like way more efficient. One of which is like, oh my God, under Rick Flag's fingernails is a piece of living Clayface that we capture in the hospital. Something.
Or have a doctor come in that's Clayface, and they have to stop him. Like a doctor to finish up the job. Like, oh, I got to kill Rick Flag.
Although Clayface is maybe dead, is the premise.
He appears to be dead. Yeah.
So I don't really know, but I just very frustrated by this because it just is like really just not efficient. It's not good storytelling. I don't think it's well done. I don't think it's a good beat. Like on every level, I was aggravated by this bit. And because
I seem to remember Gunn saying at some point that he wrote this in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's the thing. He wrote it in 2 weeks, and it's like this first draft. It has this first draft all over it.
Yeah, this feels like that kind of thing.
Yeah. Back in El Pollo Locostan. El Pollo Locostan. There we go. That took us 7 episodes to find the nickname for this country, El Pollo Locostan. Meanwhile, in El Pollo Loco stand, they are that really kills you, huh?
Got me good. That got me.
Uh, and back in country, they begin bullying Nina to go kill the princess, and I don't get it, but okay. I don't really understand why this works.
This is something that is not done well enough in the flashbacks for Nina. It's what Bride says to her at the end is like, "You're a monster. You're one of us," and that's
So
what Nina wants.
it's
She
the
wants to be
acceptance.
part
She's
of
finally
something.
owned
Yes.
part. Yeah, it just doesn't. I don't think it lands properly.
No, it
I don't
doesn't.
think it lands. It just
It
doesn't
doesn't.
land. And I mean, like, also it's just the most obvious thing. Like, but anyway, it just doesn't land, I think. So Nina goes into the water. She gets a knife and she goes to go kill the princess. But Weasel's freaking out because he likes the princess.
Yeah.
And so Weasel ends up being the chaos agent that fucks everything up. And he makes a lot of noise. She realizes that there's a fish lady swimming underneath her. And the princess
She realizes that Nina's doing a Creature from Black Lagoon maneuver.
she's doing a Creature from the Black Lagoon, and the princess grabs the knife and stabs Nina in the stomach about 49 times.
Yeah.
And Phosphorus is really mad at Weasel. There's a good bit where Weasel bites Phosphorus and it burns his mouth. I like that very much. That's the kind of interaction the show should have had previously. They should have been squabbling in this way, at least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that like breaking them up last episode made no sense because none of them had interesting stories.
No.
But like
They
an
just walked around.
episode where they're all together and having to like learn to like each other before the finale, I think would have played a lot better.
Yeah.
But because the gun needed to get Phosphorus to that little girl's house, because he needed to trigger the flashback. These flashbacks are such a fucking mistake. It's just like crazy what a huge mistake they are.
Yeah.
Just such a huge mistake.
Yeah.
And
also, I'm going to say
a half hour
something.
show. I mean,
I'm going to say something. Weasel should have died.
Yes.
He should have died.
Well, Gunn made a big deal out of like, oh, characters aren't going to make it to the end. Characters will die. And then one character dies. So.
Well, more than one.
But one creature commando.
One creature commando dies. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, okay.
Yeah. But it should have been Nina and Weasel should have died because they are the two innocent members of the team. Weasel did not kill those children.
Right.
Everything that's happened to him is not his fault. And the same with Nina. And then that would be the tragedy of it all. You know. But that's not really.
So just as this is happening, and this also is just so lazy. As this is happening, they get a phone call from the castle. And it's Amanda Waller calling to say, oh, we made a mistake.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. And I just was gobsmacked by this. I mean, gobsmacked that this is how this winds down, that it doesn't cause the international incident that leads to whatever, that the princess goes, oh, okay, no, no hard feelings.
What are you going to do?
No hard feelings. What are you going to do? I killed her. It's okay. Like, it's just like really weird. Like, as storytelling, it's really weird. And it feels like a big enough plot point.
Especially since, from what we know, the princess was trying to set this up to be the incident that would kick things off.
I don't know what she was trying to do.
None of it makes sense. That's the only thing I can figure is that's why she sends Clayface to go kill McPherson.
Well, the reason why she sends Clayface is because somehow she knows that Cersei is going to convince the government that this apocalypse is real. And somehow she knows that McPherson is going to be the one who confirms it. And so she knows when this happens. And so she sends Clayface to kill McPherson.
They explain all that. They explain that.
I'm saying that's the whole plan, though.
No, but what I'm saying is that she's got a spy at Belle Reve. They make that clear. They say that. So
yeah,
that's
but that guy.
Hold on. That's how she knows that McPherson went there. And so then she sends Clayface to go kill McPherson after McPherson has gone there. So that then they'll be like, hey, we should go check out McPherson again and see if she's real weird in class, I guess. And then we follow her home and learn that she's dead. But then why would Clayface try to kill Rick Fleck? Because You need Rick Flag to go back and say, no, this is what happened. McPherson was already dead. That wasn't her.
But also, why is
None of
your
this
plan? Why is your plan predicated on these people checking her out after they've met her?
No, it doesn't work. None of this fits. None of it flows.
Also, I just don't believe that some soldier guy standing on the outside the fence is going to have this information to give to her. I just don't buy it. Like, I just frankly don't buy it. Like, when they showed him, I guess. I just thought it was like really badly done. And
it's not well done. It doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. This whole plan does not make this entire show, and the princess's whole plan is an and then story. Like, nothing really connects. You just go, and then this happens, and then this happens.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And so now everybody's okay, to the point where they go back to the castle. They are going to make a statue of Weasel, and the bride just gets to walk around the castle as she pleases.
Willy-nilly.
So she's really upset because it turns out, did like Nina. Nina insisted that they were friends, and finally the bride's like, she was my friend, and yada, yada, yada. It seems crazy to me that the bride can just run into the princess in the hallway. It just seems absolutely bonkers.
It's not just that she can run into the princess in the hallway. The princess has the smallest goddamn office I've ever seen in my life for the leader of a nation. Her office, maybe 6 by 10.
Yeah.
It's so small.
Yeah, it's very small. Yeah, I mean, so when they go into the
what
office,
is she doing? She's doing paperwork.
I mean, that's how you run a country.
But you think something like that, like there's somebody who brings it to you, not like, oh, I had to go in the other room to make a copy to print this because there's no space in my office for a printer.
She has to print in another room.
She's connecting the print. She's like, oh, which one is it? I always print to the wrong one. So she had to go get it.
It says it's low on yellow, but I'm printing a black and white thing. Why can't I just print the goddamn thing in black and white? I don't need yellow ink. What are you doing?
What do you think? There's a monthly charge now to use my printer.
It's so crazy. So in the room, as the bride, the bride already knew about Clayface.
Yeah, they saw it on the monitor.
But they saw it. We didn't see it. They had like a glare on his head. They go, what kind of monster is that? So when does the bride realize that this is Clayface, though? And like how the whole thing works? Did she get downloaded from Amanda Waller?
I don't know.
Because it seems like the bride makes a decision in that room.
Well, when they show the first time they show that screen and it's blurred out, I was like, obviously that's Clayface and the princess. Why are you hiding this from me? Like, it's obvious. Why are you hiding it? And then when they show it again, and it's like a reveal. It's like, yeah, it's fucking obvious. There's nobody else they could be. Like, what are we doing here?
So we have like this like quote unquote tense moment, like where the princess wants the bride to sign some paperwork. People paused it and tried to read with it. Like, it's crazy that they don't tell you what paperwork is. Like
I didn't think she was trying to get the bride to sign it. I thought she was just signing some random paperwork.
No, I think she's trying to get I think that she's supposed to have, she said like, I'm glad I ran into you. I think that she's supposed to be getting it signed.
But I thought she was like, I'm glad I ran into you because I want to say I don't hold it against you for trying to kill me.
Yeah, I guess. I felt like she wanted the bride because she like puts like the pen down.
Yeah, to get the gun.
But it seems like she put the pen down in a way that you would say, hey, sign this now.
I didn't get that feeling. All right.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe that was just me. But yeah, we have like a tense thing where the bride's looking through the books, and then the princess is going to grab her old-fashioned flintlock pistol out of the drawer. And the bride pulls her gun out first and puts a bullet through her head. And
that nobody hears.
That's it. Like, the problem with this is that the revelation here is not well done. It doesn't feel fleshed out. It would have been better if the bride did not know about Clayface until after she killed the princess.
Yes.
That is actually a more James Gunn moment. Like, she blows the princess's brains out, and then she gets a call from Amanda Waller. Like, oh, well, we discovered that it was Clayface. And she goes, oh, good, I just killed the princess. Like, that's like a much better.
She kills her because the princess killed
Nina.
her now. Yeah.
And then she finds out that she's not going to get in trouble for it. And she's like, we have to get out of here. And they just power walk out of the palace. They beat some guy up on the way out. Who are they beating up?
I have no idea who that guy was. I was like, who is this guy? Where'd that come from?
They stopped to beat a guy.
Yeah.
It was very strange.
Some guy's like, hey, you've got to fill out some stuff. And she's like, damn.
Is
No
that like an
idea who that guy
inside
is.
joke? Is that somebody they work with? I honestly
I
have no idea.
No idea. No idea.
And then they power walk out, which I thought was also really dumb. Like also very anticlimactic. Like let's just power walk out of this castle.
Yeah.
They go home, and we learn that
I guess they power walk out of the country. Because how long will it be before somebody finds the dead princess?
It does seem.
As a matter of fact, by the time the episode ends, I'm not sure anyone has found the dead princess.
It does seem really untenable, and it does seem like, again, I don't want to keep rewriting stuff with schlock, but I think that this episode's so bad, only schlock could save it. They power walk out of the palace, and Phosphorus is like, all right, well, now how the fuck we get out of here? And then a helicopter comes down, and there's Rick Flag on the helicopter all bandaged up. And he's like, get in. Like, that's
Sure.
schlock, it's garbage, but at least it has like a sense of like closure and like of like bringing these things. Rick Flag just disappears out of the show into a coma.
Or here's an idea. She kills the princess. They power walk out, cut to Amanda Waller being like, we've lost the three of them. They're out there somewhere. They've caused a huge international incident by killing the princess. We've got to go hunt them down. Get me the next team. And then that's your next season.
Well, that is not what the next season is.
Nope.
Because we go back to Belle Reve, and the bride gets escorted into the new Creature Commando wing, and
which is the same Creature Commando wing that we saw last time.
Exact same. And we get introduced to the new team. The implication here is that the bride is their leader. She's their Rick Flag now. That's the implication. Because Rick Flag's going to go off and make movies now. Somebody's gonna be like, Rick Flag, ever since you woke up from that coma, you're a totally different guy. You have a very different attitude in every possible way. And the new team is Phosphorus, Weasel. It's Nosferatu, who is a Superboy villain who we had seen previously. It's Callus, who's a mummy, and we had seen him previously also in the prison. He's also a Creature Commandos character from the comics.
Yep.
And who else? Who's the other? Phosphorus
and Nune from Suicide Squad.
Oh, King Shark, and then new version GI Robot shows up.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Hey, I'm all upgraded." And then
I've got an easily CGI-able body. If you want to put me in movies,
that's what his old body was pretty easily CGI-able too.
But now he looks
like every other robot.
Bigger and stuff. Yeah.
And then that's the end of the episode, and
it ends with what's his face.
John Economos.
Economos saying to Bride, they're your team if you want. And she goes, what else have I got to do? Music, credits. But she doesn't say it excitingly. She's like, what else have I got to do? Like it was like the end of the day. She had to get out. Like, I got to go pick up my kid. So we got one take on this line. And
got to get it done. Yeah. We have a post-credit scene or mid-credit scene or whatever, where it's Frankenstein. He's been rescued by another nice old lady. And he's telling her about the bride and how she tried to kill him because she's so confused by love. And they're eating soup, and he says, what is this soup? And she says, sparrow drop soup. Is that what she says? And he goes, it's disgusting. And that's the end.
Yep.
So he's still alive. The end. What'd you think of this episode?
Garbage. Did not like it. Really did not like it. I really thought this was very weak. A very weak ending. For the first official DCU thing, not a great start. Not a great start. And it breaks my heart to say that because I really think James Gunn is amazingly, endlessly talented. But I just don't feel like he put any effort into the story.
I mean, everybody whiffs it sometimes. This is a disaster, I feel like. It is very bad.
I don't understand how it got such good reviews.
It's deeply confusing to me. Although within our own Discord, there are people who quite like this program who are probably very irritated by how much we're complaining about it.
Sure. And don't get me wrong. I get why people would like it. But when I say I don't understand why I got such good reviews, I mean, like, overwhelmingly, the reviews are good. Like, that is surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they just gave it to Geek Press, who are easy lays, and that's why nobody else bothered reviewing it week to week. You gave it to the Geek Press, who got the first 4 episodes, or the first season, or whatever. Like I know some people who got this early and they're like, oh, it's really good. And I watched, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you, bro? Like, I've known you for 25 years. This is the craziest thing you ever said to me. Like, what the fuck? So yeah, I don't know, man. It's real bad. I think the show is really bad in general, but there was always the possibility the last episode could maybe like prop
Can
it up
fix
a
it up.
little bit.
Yeah.
But every ball is dropped, I feel like, in this one.
Yeah.
Nina is not properly fleshed out. Her origin makes zero sense. Again, even within the not even within the whole DC universe, within the context of the existing story, where she is a known fish girl in public, and then people hear about a fish girl and nobody draws two and two. It is
Nobody puts two and two
crazy to me.
together. A known fish girl in public. Again, just sticking to these 7 episodes in a reality where a robot is put on trial, but she is not. She commits no crime
She commits no crime.
and gets put away. Why?
Again, if there was a scene where they had like a psychiatrist talking to her and like she won't speak, I don't think she's sentient. She can't speak at all. And then we realize it's because she's traumatized. That would actually sell it. You need a fucking 30-second sequence to sell it.
Yeah.
But that's actually been a big problem with the show all along, is that number of things you're like, boy, if this just had 30 more seconds, he could have made this work. And then what'll happen every single time is the next episode, those 30 seconds show up in the next episode. You're like, what the fuck? Why was this not last episode? That I just keep coming back to that Cersei hand thing.
Yeah.
Like where it's like, that was definitely information we needed in that episode. We should not have had to wait till the next episode to get that basic information about her.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I was really disappointed. I did not like it. The other thing about it that I really didn't like, I think James Gunn's really good with emotion. Like traditionally is excellent. Like he really nails
He's
it.
fantastic at it. Yeah.
And I feel like all of this stuff feels really manipulative and crass and not well executed. Like I think that the stuff that he does the best is the stuff he does the worst in this show.
Yeah.
And that's really upsetting because normally, you would have emotions for these characters. And I know some people did. Like I know some people who listen to this did have emotional connections to these characters. I bless you because I don't know how you got it. The show did not give it to me. And as a result, the thing that he's best at, he just totally blew. Ugh,
Yeah.
really disappointing. And you're right. This is awful for the first thing to come out of DCU. Awful. Yeah. It's awful on every level, by the way. Not just that it's bad. Like even if it was good, this is not a good thing for the first thing from the new DCU, because it's a fucking cartoon about monsters that are really obscure. It's just not like the way to open this universe. Personally, that's not how and I'm sure that was not his intention. It was not to like have Creature Commandos be the very first thing that you ever see. Yeah. But that's the way it worked out, and I think it's like not a good intro to the whole thing. It's just not a good intro. Yeah, boy, what a 7-week bummer this has been.
Yeah.
What an absolute 7. There's a lot of discussion online. Dr. Phosphorus has a dialogue in this episode, and it sparked a lot of dork conversations where he says that he turned into Phosphorus 15 years ago. Yeah. And people take that to mean that Batman's been active for 15 years.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily the case.
Depends.
It might be, but I think that's drawing a lot of assumptions out of it that I don't know that are true.
It'll depend on for Brave and the Bold how they handle the Damian Wayne of it all.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, to draw that conclusion from that one line of dialogue does feel.
Well, I would take it from that line of dialogue, and that we know that Brave and the Bold is going to be Damian Wayne as Robin, and that he's Batman's son. So there has to be 12 to 13 years for that kid to grow up.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is that movie's not even written yet. So like, we're looking at a movie coming out in 4 years, 5 years.
Oh no! I fully agree. But like, what I'm saying is, we don't know. Like, this is what it depends on. Is like, okay, so was Bruce Batman when he met Ra's al Ghul and Talia and slept with Talia and hence Damian, or was he still like young training period pre-Batman when that happened? Because you could go either way on it. So it just comes down to that.
Yeah, but even if it's when he's Batman and Damian is 14 years old and this movie comes out in 2030, then we're looking at a situation where Damian is born in the year 2016.
Well, you're looking at it as these movies are set in real time, like Marvel. I don't know that they're going to be. I don't know if he's going to do that kind of thing.
I don't know. I would be surprised if he doesn't. I would be. I mean, not every single one, obviously, and Marvel has definitely moved away from that. But I would not be surprised if there's a general connect. I think the audience assumes that the year a movie comes out is when the movie's happening, unless it's a period piece, and then in which case we know that this is the 90s or this is the 1800s or whatever. But I think people just generally assume that it's pretty much today. Yeah. And I would say that Suicide Squad seems like it probably takes place today. Like, it doesn't seem like it's taking place in some other era.
No,
I'm sorry, not Suicide Squad, but Creature Commandos.
Yeah.
It doesn't really take place in a different era.
Sure.
And also, Peacemaker's probably going to have jokes that are going to definitely be of this time. Almost certainly.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Actually, there's jokes in this that are of the time. There's like, the bride does a couple of like nicknames that are modern-y.
She calls Phosphorus Ghost Rider.
Yeah, which is very funny, but
Phosphorus calls Weasel Fruit Brute, which I liked.
Oh yeah, that's actually not that connected to the present day. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I'm going to assume that it's mostly more or less when the movie comes out is when the movie takes place, unless again it's a period piece.
No, yeah.
Now, and whether or not you're supposed to draw a direct connection that like, oh, this takes place 6 years after the events of Superman, maybe not that solid. But also because people age for real, it's hard not to have to go that way because just the people age, as opposed to comics where it's like all of these last 200 issues all took place in the last 3 months, and you're like, well, you can't really do that anymore.
Yeah. Kitty Pryde has aged 10 years, but somehow Cyclops is still in his 30s.
Actually, he should be in his 30s if she aged 10 years because he's supposed to be in his 20s. He's a teenager in the original X-Men.
Yeah.
And then by the time they get to the next team, he's probably only in his early 20s.
You think so?
I would have to guess that that's the case. He's a fucking high school student in the original X-Men.
That's true.
And so, it's like not really clear. There's like, obviously it's Marvel time, so who cares? But like conceptually, we have watched this guy go from probably being 15 to probably in his 30s is my guess.
Yeah,
that's my guess on it.
Just like Wally West.
He might be like approaching his upper 30s at this point, but he definitely hit 40.
I guess the better example would be like Nightwing or Wally West, where both of their mentors have not aged a day.
Yes,
but
Nightwing is rapidly catching up to Bruce Wayne, which is very strange. Yeah. Bruce Wayne actually that makes sense though. Because maybe he's like that billionaire who's using young boy blood.
Yep, that's why he's got so many Robins. Yeah,
they're all his blood bags. It turns out.
There's a fun thing that every now and then pops up on the Flash subreddit, where people are like, "Wally West is married and has 3 kids. Barry is still single and he's been dating Iris for like 30 years. What is going on? Like, are they like what? What is the problem here?"
I know people like that though. But who have been dating for 30 years? Like they're like boyfriend, girlfriend?
It's mainly that at one point, Barry and Iris were married.
Right.
And they know it. In the comics, they know, oh, we were married, and then there was a crisis, and you died, and I died, and then we both came back, and the universe reset, and we weren't married anymore. And it's like, so what's going on?
It's so funny, man.
Like, so funny. How many kids does Wally West have to have before these two get married?
Wait until his kids become 20.
Well, they aged up his two of his kids.
They went to the future and aged up?
They use the same thing that happened with Bart, with Impulse, where they're born with the Speed Force, so they aged faster.
Until they
had to break them out of it. Yeah, they had to break them out of it.
Okay.
And so that's how like the twins are aged faster.
That's how it always happens in soap operas too. Somebody will give birth, there'll be a baby for 1 year, and then the next year they're 6 years old.
Yeah.
Because
like on Family Ties.
Yeah. They don't want babies on set anymore. It's just a pain in the ass. Yeah. And everybody just goes, okay, who cares? It's just, he's fucking
and until, I guess, Clint Eastwood, nobody was like, what if we just use the doll as a baby? Everybody will buy it. We'll win Best Picture. It's fine.
All right. That's going to be us for Creature Commandos. We're done with Creature Commandos. Thank the heavenly Lord. So we have a couple of weeks. I have decided we are going to do Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is the next Disney Plus animated show. We might reserve the right to not do it if it stinks. Is that fair? Is that a fair thing to say?
No.
No, we have to just do the whole fucking thing.
What else are we gonna do?
I don't know, man. I mean, like anything else. This I felt like we had to do because it's like canon, and that feels like vital for whatever. I mean, I don't know
We
why.
did X-Men
I'm
97.
mentally
That's
ill.
not canon.
It was good though.
It was, but
It was very good.
yeah, but that was kind of a shocker. We did What If. That was never good and never canon.
That was never good, but we got, we barely did it this time. We just tossed it off, man. We had to watch it, but we just tossed it off. Well, anyway, next week, before we get to Spider-Man, we're going to start preparing for the upcoming Captain America Brave New World, and we are going to read the first appearance of Sam Wilson, the Falcon. And that's going to be Captain America issue 117 from September 1969. So that's going to be the first appearance of Falcon. I guarantee it's going to be racist as hell. It is going to have racist black guy dialogue like you wouldn't believe. And it's progressive. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's definitely progressive for the time, because he's the first significant black superhero. Stan Lee wrote.
Well, no, he's the first significant black superhero to not have black in his name.
That's correct. Sorry, yes, you're right. Yeah. Have black in his name. But this is back when everybody's like, "Oh, you jive turkey!
What you talking about?
What you talking about,
America?
You big honky!" Like that's what it's all. It's all going to sound like Sanford and Son.
Show me that money, Cap.
So it's going to be a little racist is my assumption, but it's also very progressive because at the time they weren't doing this. And so Stan bringing in this black hero to stand alongside Captain America, that's a big deal in 1969. Yeah. So I want everybody to keep that in mind when you do get to some of the stuff and you go, wow, they really wrote it like this, huh? Wow. They're doing their best. It's a long time ago. So we'll see you guys next week when we talk about that. Until then, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, may you be well, but most of all, may you remain a true believer.